Hey, welcome back to Women Disrupting Tech. Thank you for listening to episode 46 about the positive impact of diversity on artificial intelligence. My guest on today's episode is Maryam Miradi. Maryam holds a PhD in artificial intelligence from Delft University, and she has over 20 years of experience building artificial intelligence models, and she has worked for many important Dutch organizations including banks, the government and energy companies. Her work on predicting the maintenance of Dutch highways and secondary roads won her international recognition and awards, and Mariam also has her own AI consultancy company called Profound Analytics. Plus, the day we recorded this podcast was also the launch date of her new AI training. So we'll talk about how she helps regular people like you and I decode the road to AI. In this episode, we'll also have a conversation about her journey into the world of artificial intelligence, the impact of artificial intelligence on our daily lives, and the role of women in building responsible artificial intelligence solutions. So, when you're ready to listen and learn about artificial intelligence, please welcome to Women Disrupting Tech, Maryam Miradi. Welcome to Women Disrupting Tech. My name is Dirk Jan Upkes, and on this podcast I give the women who work in tech the platform they need to inspire and empower each other. Join me on a journey into the world of entrepreneurship, funding, biases and role models to discover the strategies for success in the tech industry. In other words, how women can disrupt tech. Are you ready to listen? So, good morning, Mariam. Really good to have you on Women Disrupting Tech. The question that I always ask at the start is how you got into your current job or into your current position.
Good morning, Dirk-Jan, and thank you so much for having me. Let me just tell you a little bit in a nutshell. I've done my PhD in AI, machine learning, and deep learning in the Netherlands, and after that, I founded my own company, Profound Analytics, and the last 14 years, I'm just basically solving business problems with AIs, different types of models and AIs. We will get to that later.
Mm.
And what was my strategy was I started with one industry and then just switched to different industry every time that I had a feeling this is not challenging enough. I will make it a little bit complicated for myself, and then
Mhm.
in this way, I just had done 12 different industries the last 14 years.
Okay, that's a lot.
Yes.
Can you mention a couple?
Yeah, sure. Do you want me also to go a little bit deeper
Yeah,
on that stuff if
yeah.
you want to? So Um, I had my master's in Iran in AI, and during my master's, I already had two mini startups. So
Mhm.
yeah, you could already see that entrepreneurship was inside me. Then I had my company after my master's, and then it was combining AI and 3D animations to just add this that value, that just not being AI but showing the people how they can use it.
Mhm.
Then I got accepted in PhD in Iran, but then I got accepted also in the Netherlands. Just came here,
Mhm.
but because I had this um, like working really in industry, I already knew that there is a life after a PhD. So
Mhm.
the way I was thinking was every time I can just have um, uh, something of challenging, which
Mhm.
afterwards I didn't want just to stay in academia, but really apply my knowledge.
Yeah.
And that was actually what it already began during my PhD. So I did road and railway engineering, as you know,
Mm-hmm.
and what I did was predicting for the Dutch roads, all of the Dutch roads, when the asphalt will damage, which will save a lot of millions because asphalt is extremely expensive, and also
Mm-hmm.
will guard the safety of the driver, because if you brake and the brake is not working because of the asphalt damage, so you will have a lot of
Yeah.
accidents. So it was this combination which I taught beforehand, and that became like kind of the thing in all of the places I went.
Mm-hmm.
Not only the industry from, okay, I'm now in energy industry or healthcare industry, but it's
Mm-hmm.
more of what can I mean with my knowledge, with my background in that industry.
Mm-hmm.
So I started with biggest retailer, Ahold.
Mm-hmm.
That was the start of the first actually projects that I did, and they had a lot of supply chain problems, logistic things and for example, meat went
Mm-hmm.
to Albert Heijn's, and then like within two days they had to throw everything because there was not enough logistic good predictions and those kind of stuff, and that's of course horrible for the society or the amount of things. So
Uh-huh.
I could see those kind of things. So I went, making long story short, I went from retail to uh, tax administration, to energy, to banking, to healthcare, to anti-money laundering, to and just like
And there's
yeah, more
yeah,
of them.
so
Yeah,
really a lot.
yeah,
And it's really, really broadly. It also gives a bit of perspective of
absolutely.
how broad AI can be applied, I guess.
Yeah,
Because what makes it that that you can use, for instance, the philosophy behind the large language model
yes.
in the same way at Ahold as at ABN AMRO, as at the Dutch government for predicting the maintenance of the roads.
So
So
as yes,
I understand that the large language model itself is not capable of, or
no.
is not the key, but I think the way of thinking about it is.
Can be, yes, absolutely. So we are talking about the AI field.
Hmm.
As you know, recently was the AI tools are actually get associated with ChatGPT because it
Yeah,
made it like very accessible, as you know very well.
yeah.
But AI field is so. ChatGPT is not an AI tool. It's just a large language model.
Hmm.
It's a very small part of AI. But let's say what AI can do,
Hmm.
like the question that you are asking. AI has this field of machine learning and deep learning when you build models on top of uh, the data which look like completely a table. So if I say I want the information about Derek Yon, all of the financial information, health information, there
Hmm.
will be Derek Yon, the age, and all of that in like this information table.
Yeah.
That's actually where we can use machine learning, and it does not matter what is your purpose. You always can use the purpose as a target and then see what's very relevant to that purpose. So
Uh-huh.
if you're saying I want to see how good your health is, then I
Hmm.
need to give the blood pressure and the any value of your muscles and your age, gender,
Hmm.
all of those stuff.
Hmm.
But if I want to talk about your loan, then it's what's actually the last 4 years has been like your financial situation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is like, but basically, what's the pattern is that you just have relevant information and output. But how does it relate to ChatGPT? Is
Mm.
ChatGPT is about text, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's large language models, meaning
Mm.
it has been trained on the whole internet, every text that we put out there. the languages is different languages. Let's keep it to English. Every paper, every website, everything it has been actually trained on. So
Mm-hmm.
he does understand. Is like knowing all of the knowledge of the word, like being a Wikipedia, and then I
Yeah.
ask him something, and he knows the next sentence, and then he knows the next sentence after that. So he
Mm-hmm.
does not have any intelligence, but it just basically creates a sentence that makes sense after that sentence, and
Yeah.
then it goes and it goes. So it understands on a mathematical way the language.
Ah.
But so how can I use that actually in the models? I
Mm-hmm.
have a machine learning model that predict your health. Imagine I'm looking at your lungs, and we want
Mm-hmm.
to know actually how it is. But then I've got all of these measurements, which looks like very intimidating. They look very like, how do you call it? A specialist will understand it, but a
Uh-huh.
human being like us wouldn't understand it.
No.
So then
Mm-hmm.
I can use the base of large language models, which is like GPT-4 model,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and put it on top of my prediction model from machine learning,
Uh-huh.
and then say, hey, explain to Derkyan this in a very simple way, or summarize it in a way that it goes automatically in his medical file.
Records. Yeah.
Yeah. And then can you imagine two things? You understand what's happening, but
Mm-hmm.
also the doctor does not need to summarize that. And it takes just his time instead of writing and doing all of the administration. To what he needs to do is to attend to the patients and to the people.
Okay. So
So yeah.
so it actually makes the life of, let's say, a doctor or a bank employee easier because they can actually have the conversation and the attention that they need to have
Yeah.
instead of being busy with, let's say, admin
Yes.
or even yeah, probably admin is the best way to
Yes.
describe it, types of tasks.
Yeah, because police, mechanics, all of these people, they have really this heavy work
Uh-huh.
everywhere that you go. But on top of that, they have to sit and for 3 hours, like write all of these texts. So
Yeah.
imagine how they just use the speech to text, use their phone, or they talk actually to any kind of recording, and it
Hmm.
just translates very very well. That's the part that we just record them, but
Hmm.
then you want to make sense out of what they are
Yeah.
saying. And then maybe we just reduce that 3 to 4 hours to half an hour or 15 minutes or something like that. So
Hmm.
it's just, but then make a summary of all of the hours of all of these people for a year.
Yeah.
It's just insane amount of time and money that you save.
Yeah. Absolutely. But as if I understand correctly, it sort of has a predictive element to it, right?
So predictive element to it is yes, it's like I'm predicting based on. So you mean ChatGPT has the
Yeah,
predictive?
or more generally, artificial intelligence. It has a way of taking an existing data set and based on that predicting. Okay, if I apply it to this situation, let's say this picture of my lungs, I can see based on the thousands of pictures that have been used as input, I can now detect, oh, this person has cancer, or they have actually a very good lungs, or they have
Yes.
a.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So the first part I was mentioning, that's the part of the machine learning, isn't it?
Hmm.
The part where I was explaining that we give Dirk Jans and any other people's actually information to the system. But one thing that you need to understand is that if we have a target, something like cancer or not,
Hmm.
we need to have the measurements of people having cancer and not cancer,
Yeah.
correct?
Hmm.
Because we have to have this separation. Also, it could be so many types of cancer. So
Hmm.
if there is a new cancer, and there is no data about it, my system cannot discover it, correct?
No. Yep.
Because I haven't given the data. The system is as good as the data. That's
Yeah.
really important to know. AI is as good as the data. But how can you do that? I mean, there are new things. What we also have, this is having actually the output, having all of we call it labels.
Mm,
We call it a supervised type of learning.
mm,
But if I don't have it, if I want just to see irregularities in something, what
mm,
we could do is use unsupervised learning. In the unsupervised learning, I just bring a lot of patients and just healthy people,
mm,
and the model itself would separate,
mm.
so we see actually the anomalies.
Yeah,
They don't know what's that anomaly, but they will bring the anomalies, and then we
yeah.
gather it, we bring it to an expert, in this case a language specialist,
Mm,
and they will look at it and will say, oh, this I know, this is that type, this is that
mm,
type, this I have never known. So in other
mm,
words, we from the data we can even make our doctors better by
mm.
showing things that they didn't know or missed because their education is maybe not up to date, because the human's body is changing, those kind of stuff. And that's amazing when you do a kind of combination of both of type of machine learning and AI.
So it's both the quality and the speed also of detection.
Yes, absolutely. So you can do it like from different perspectives. The perspective of I know things,
Mm-hmm.
and the perspective of I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's really amazing part of AI, that you also broaden your view, but with AI, because
Mm-hmm.
of the existence of these technologies and these techniques.
Yeah. I want to switch gears a bit
Yes.
because how many is it a male dominated field, artificial intelligence? So are there much more men than women there?
So it depends on which countries I think you take, but let's take the Netherlands. I think
Uh-huh.
that's maybe what I noticed is that when I was in Iran, about 60%, 55% of the class in AI were girls and ladies. But here I have been in companies when I was the only AI specialist in 150 people. So it's just like the let's say way more skewed in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And is it a field? So we are coming to that thing that about why not so many female students, female research scientists
Hmm.
are there.
Okay. But did you, as a result, because in Iran, you're coming from Iran, there it was sort of, well, that's maybe not 50-50, but at least close to it.
Yes, more
Uh,
more most of the time, because
yeah.
girls are a little bit more interested in mathematics. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, then you're shifting to the Netherlands, where all of a sudden you end up in a field with only men,
Yes.
almost only men. How did you deal with that change? What was it like for you?
And do you mean from, for example, the
From a bias
possible from a bias perspective?
yeah.
Yes. So let's take a look at a few biases which could exist. So
Hmm.
gender bias. I was a woman in most of the time, like 1 or 2%, up to 10% of people were women and not more.
Hmm.
And that, to be honest, I never felt like, oh, look at this skewness, because to me, gender is not a thing that is just a purpose by itself. It is like, who is actually passionate about AI, and are
Hmm.
they there?
Yeah.
So that's like the perspective I never had. Like, okay, what's like the percentage? But then looking at, for example, things like performance evaluation wise,
Hmm.
do they treat me differently? Not at all. It was like always based on my quality. I was like, you've done this great, and it just like I could see the amount of appreciation was always about me as a human,
Hmm.
not as am I a female or a male.
Yeah.
And then senior positions, we hear that a lot. Like, women are not enough in the senior position. And during my talking to so many companies and working for so many of them,
Mm-hmm.
I got always these offers. Can you be on the C level? I was like, no, for me, what's important is creating things. So I want to stay in technical, lead technical person, the person
Mm-hmm.
that really create that. So it wasn't their idea. Finding bias, like giving money, for
Mm-hmm.
example, if you apply for a subsidy and me, would it be different? Can I tell you a story about that one?
Sure,
Do you
please.
like it? Yeah. So I came to Netherlands, and then I am this younger, from another country, and then
Yeah.
my PhD was with Rijkswaterstaat, the Ministry of Water and
Yeah.
Roads, and so. And then I went there to the ministry because I heard that you can ask for extra funding,
Mm-hmm.
and I was standing in front of all of these very senior people, like 50, 60 years old.
Uh-huh.
And they were like, who is that? Like, who is she coming and telling us what we should do with our roads? That was
Uh-huh.
like,
Uh-huh.
and then what I did was, because it's basically not necessary to learn Dutch, especially, but I learned Dutch very fast. So
Uh-huh.
I did that whole presentation, prepared it very well, did it
Uh-huh.
in Dutch because they feel like it's their language. All of the
Uh-huh.
jargon is not too complicated for them.
Uh-huh.
And then they were looking still at me like with that, like the thing. I was like, this is very intimidating.
Uh-huh.
Then I came back to the office and they say, and the chance of getting that funding is sometimes zero.
Uh-huh.
But I thought I would do, and I worked for about like 1 week, day and night, not sleeping at all, and went to the presentation, did the presentation. After that, they said, yeah, it was so convincing, it was so good. And they gave me this funding, which not covered like me, but also another five PhD students,
Yeah.
which is like amazing. I noticed that everything we do, like on everything, is just like your own initiative, how much you put inside something.
Yeah.
Because everybody told me the chance is zero that I get anything from
Yeah.
these guys. And by understanding what's actually the inside the head of that person in front of me,
Uh-huh.
which in their case, they said, we don't like that people speak English to us. We just get like, this is too tiring, this is too scientific. Just making it like really visualized and really understandable in their language,
Uh-huh.
I got the funding. And that was actually where it get like, um, that bias kind of removed for me. But it's
Yeah.
not about me being a female or male, or like this small girl, that they think, okay, should I take her seriously?
Uh-huh.
But it's about what you bring to the table. Value.
Yeah.
Value is everything. So, and I can talk about mentorship. It's all visibility, all amazing. But one thing, because
Mm.
we want to talk about the bias, is that it was compensation and income, Derkion. To be honest, I was
Mm.
right, like disastrous, sometimes low. So my compensation sometimes was like half of my male colleagues.
Counterparts. Yeah.
Yes, and that was one of the things that, if I look back,
Mm-hmm.
I get like, it's just hurts like a lot.
Yeah.
That with my all of the added value. So I was like, Mariam is the best, Mariam is this, Mariam is that. But their compensation, which was like, it was lower than like maybe the worst person delivering nothing in the company. And to be honest, I was thinking, because of this
Mm-hmm.
podcast about it, what was the reason? I was thinking, is that me being a female, or them like having a bias and not giving in the female, or me not being convinced enough of my own capability,
Mm-hmm.
and being too much of females learn from a young age, you should be nice, you shouldn't be saying anything, you should avoid conflict, those kind of
Uh-huh.
stuff.
Yeah.
That was the heart of the problem. I was afraid of creating a conflict,
Mm-hmm.
and instead of like leaning toward all of my capability. So I was the one that went there and got the fundings for other things, but when it came to take care of me, I sucked at it, like really sucked at it for many years.
Yeah, but isn't that like at least I recognize part of it
Yes.
in the sense that if you ask me to sell an artwork or sell this podcast, I'm
Yes.
able to do that without too much problems. If I have to sell myself, that's a very different
Very
ball
difficult.
game, even
Yes.
for men, by the way.
Yes.
Um,
Exactly.
but are women more held back in that sense? So
Yeah. Yeah.
they're taught less to let's say pitch themselves. You
Yeah,
think?
so I think it's a little bit there because looking my parents are most open minded people that we will face. They always ask me, "You can do anything. You can reach the moon."
Hmm.
But at the same time, my mom was always like, she promoted being nice, being really and harmonizer and those kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But so you mentioned male and female. I think all of male and females that are like having that element in them that it's not their comfort zone to go and have a talk which they know that it can end with a conflict, it
Yeah.
can end with something that you have to walk away from your job, but that they and also my parents for example promoted being humble, be great
Hmm.
and what you're doing, you're being the best in the world, but always be humble. And I kind of misinterpret actually being humble
Hmm.
being like just coming up for myself, just having like having the things that is valued for me, and
Yeah.
money is like one of these really complicated thing that you think if I ask more money maybe I'm a bad person, you know.
Yeah.
But you end up looking at yourself or comparing to people around you, still feeling like, with all respect to myself, like feeling an idiot.
Yeah.
So then that's actually, I think, it's something that we maybe need to teach people or have like all of these courses which shows how you can be nice and get what you're valued
Yeah.
as an income or compensation. Yeah.
Yeah. I think training people to do that, so to be nice and empathetic, but still persuasive in the sense that they are able to negotiate for what they want, or at least to come get a little bit higher in the pay scale than rock bottom,
Yes,
is
absolutely.
something we should definitely teach people, and especially women.
Yeah, and I think there's also some, I don't know if you have noticed, but I noticed generation difference. You don't need to teach that to newest generation. I noticed
No.
it's maybe they are too much on the side of being thinking that they are perfect. That
Yeah.
I will add a little bit more humbleness to the newest generation. But the generations before, everybody before 35, I still see that. To all of the teams that I had, everybody I noticed that again, yeah, specific for women. For male can be also
Yeah, but
yeah.
isn't that part of age also? Because I remember being a lot more, let's
Confident.
say, confident,
Yeah.
or at least negotiating for salary much harder than I would now.
Yeah.
I'm now 50 or 51, but I used to do that a lot more. Well, maybe not hardball, but at least ask for myself for based on my own value. Hey, this is what I can show, so please fork over the money.
Yeah.
And if you're younger, you have sort of less. How do you say that? Less.
Social.
So, it's not necessarily social intelligence. In fact, you're less held back, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. But the question is why? What's holding us back?
Yeah, I think in
Yeah.
part, my perception, in part that's age, but it wouldn't hurt, especially for women. Actually, for women, if you look at the career ladder and also at pay gaps,
Yes.
what they start when they start to get bigger is usually when people get older. and especially around the childbearing age, which nowadays is around 30, 35-ish.
Yes.
This is when the gender pay gap opens up. Until that, it's, well, maybe 1, maybe 2%. But the women in the let's say of younger generations will see that, will hear that, and will negotiate for it. And if you're maybe it's also that women who have children have more to lose.
Yeah, that's actually something that's really one of the core situations. Shall I give you an example,
Yeah, yeah.
Tatjan? My sister, she, of course, the same type of person as I. When her first child came, she had only after 2 months she had to bring him to daycare because back then a few years ago the number of days for women was lower, and she didn't have like the grandpas or grandmas here because my parents are not here. So then she had to pay her entire salary for the little guy to go to daycare for
Mm-hmm.
5 days. And then you can imagine that this is like not really motivating, that your daycare is so expensive as you. So
Yeah,
if you don't work, it's even better because you're the entire week with your little one, and
yeah.
then so the salary system or whatever we call it, it wasn't, and she got passed through it, and just of course the salary became better, the children become older, and the cost of at least that thing goes down. But I think we need to take a look at what you're exactly saying, is that women with children have a lot to lose, and they have to really be so strong and have such a strong mindset to just stick to it, go work, come back, like pick up the kids. It's just really difficult type of life.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can, as a society, for whatever reason, I know that in this Scandinavian country is way better,
Mm-hmm.
to create that blanket where they have a feeling that everything is taken care of for
Mm-hmm.
their kids, and they have these that they can be themselves, they can
Yeah,
be the most the
yeah,
most daring version of themselves.
yeah. Yeah, I think in terms of preconditions, there's a lot still to be improved in the
To improve,
Netherlands. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, I want to switch back to AI a bit, and
Yes.
also to biases. Uh, because I was wondering, we talked at first about building large language models and that you feed data into it, and then you have to, of course, build something that it starts learning from both the data and the observations that are fed in to the artificial intelligence. Um, how im- and you also said that artificial intelligence is as good as the data that goes in.
Exactly.
So data quality is really important, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Um, what role does diversity play here? So to have a diverse data set, also, let's say, let's take it from a health perspective. I would think it's really important to have equal gender data. So both 50% male data and 50% female data. Is that
Yes. Yeah, so that's really important to have. Like, if you have a data which is not diverse enough, but you mean also diversity in data or diversity in people as well?
both?
Both, yeah. So actually, is it is like having the when you have the data, the diversity in the data is you're covering a problem as good as possible, isn't it?
Hmm.
So you're just saying, as I said, you if you don't have information about something, your data can be very it has gaps in it, like big gaps in it, isn't it? One of the strategies that you can use, and I explain, is that to use unsupervised learning to just kind of fill in the gaps and find actually the unknowns inside the data and add
Yeah,
it to the knowns. That's
yeah.
actually what you could do from the data. That just kind of saves you. a lot of these gaps.
Mm-hmm.
But still, if the whatever, so imagine anti-money laundering. You're
Yeah.
talking about criminals that
Yeah.
you just catch them, they find another way. You catch them, they find another way. It's all the time, and it's also these evolving networks. Is
Yeah.
that so? The diversity should be in your data,
Mm-hmm.
in your methods,
Mm-hmm.
and also in your people. So
Okay.
what you have is your data is the way is that how more of your data you're gathering. If I wanted to make a decision on a political situation and I
Mm-hmm.
just gather the data of 30 countries, which are all in Europe and United States, and those the area of which are very similar. Of course, I cannot talk about Africa or I cannot
Yeah.
talk about Asia. That's really clear stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I can go comparable. I can say there are people inside Europe that are having the same thing. That's filling the gaps.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to have as much as data. The other one is the methods. As I said, when I use things like computer vision,
Mm-hmm.
then I can add more. Shall I give you an example? Is that
Yeah.
maybe not
Yeah.
working? So I was working on uh, the prediction of smart meters we have at home, in the
Yeah.
Netherlands, smart meters.
Yeah.
And then you have the tower sending actually the signals. And we want to have electricity all the time, isn't it? We want to have all of our energy always there. So if there is not a signal between tower and a smart meter, it cannot say, hey, how much of electricity you're using, and that get to complications.
Mm-hmm.
So um, one of the things is that you can use all of the information that are there about the towers, and the smart meter,
Mm-hmm.
but they had to just replace it all the time. Or what we did was using pictures, with computer vision
Mm-hmm.
from the roof to look. There were like places in um, Amsterdam when you had these huge trees
Yeah.
that completely blocked the signal.
Yeah.
And that apartment, and let's say even lived like, I don't know, 30 people there,
Yeah.
all of them, they had to like have and nobody was like looking at it because
Mm-hmm.
they were like looking at it from one dimension, which is
Mm-hmm.
what's the tower and what's the actually.
Yeah.
But the other dimension is that even you put an ironing desk on, in your closet, you will
Yeah.
just block the signal.
Yeah.
But that huge tree was meant that you have to actually use another technology to just have that. So by adding this one dimension, just
Mm-hmm.
the pictures from Google Earth or whatever, adding that, you can add this diversity. So
Yeah.
that's actually the diversity you can bring to technologies. Of course, ChatGPT and all of the language models bring this diversity as well, because you understand the language if there is a text inside your problem.
Mm-hmm.
But then diversity of people is, I'm different than you,
Yeah.
just because we are two people. And by bringing as much as different people
Mm-hmm.
with different experiences and different backgrounds,
Yeah.
you just add that value, because the diversity becomes so um, uh, uh, almost you're just covering everything, because these people building AI system, they will ask questions. And
Mm-hmm.
if you are the business, you ask me different type of questions. So I'm working with you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're an expert, it could be in lung cancer, it could be in road engineering. I will ask you all of these questions, and your perspective will be different. But if
Yeah.
a person next to you, which is completely different than you, gives me also those perspective, and I have another AI person next to me, which has this diversity. So we create actually these, you would say, think tank. This like strong community
Mm-hmm.
of the people, which is for everything is true, isn't it? So
Yeah.
for AI is even more true, because with AI you can make a lot of impacts.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of AI solutions being developed right now.
Yes.
Uh, how important? How can we encourage women to pursue a career in AI then? because it's obviously it's like we or people with diverse mindsets. Let's take it a
Yes,
bit broader.
absolutely.
How can we encourage them?
So let's take a look at a few things.
Hmm?
Like, okay, for example, education, early exposure
Yeah.
when you're very young.
Hmm?
Anything that I became is because from a very young age, my parents were talking about things like I was maybe four. They were talking about NASA and how you can go there, and they were talking about. And you should say I was this person in Iran with all of the situation in Iran,
Hmm?
everything that happening in my era. It was kind of uh, really shooting for the moon. That was like impossible,
Hmm?
because but that was really never kind of was this mind obstacle in their mind. They were thinking my kids have this capability and they can go anywhere they can. And
Hmm?
these songs say women are strong and they can do anything. That's
Yeah.
exactly what was the upbringing.
Hmm?
So one of the things I would say, educate people like the parents
Hmm?
to just not be a little bit the story of your nephew, I think, or niece that you
Yeah.
were like saying exactly that. Just educate actually the parents to be different, but also my dad told my brother you have to cook, and told me you have to pick up breads
Hmm?
outside or pick up something, which
Yeah.
like shows that the rules are not like you should cook and he should pick up. He
Yeah.
continuously did those kind of stuff to just create that hey, so not only focusing on the female side but
Hmm?
also on the male side, because otherwise you will like kind of clean half of the room.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's not one thing that's really important, in my opinion, to just not focus only on women but also on men, and how I think they want to treat the way they want, but it's just, do we encourage them, do we learn them, teach them actually how to do that? That's really important. And then you go higher education, have to have like all of these seminars and roles and development and advancement, showing those kind of stuff.
Hmm?
But to me, to be honest, it starts a lot at very young age,
Hmm?
where your character is shaped. So instead of, I can just tell you how much you can do afterwards
Hmm?
and it's done. And to my opinion, the reason that sometimes it does not have effect is that the mind obstacles are already there. People are already thinking, if I can tell you, I was talking to PhD students.
Hmm?
They were PhD students of nanotechnology,
Yeah.
aerospace engineering,
Hmm?
and say, "Oh, I want children." That they were women. They say, "I want children." So I'm going to quit my job, become a secretary, and just have children, because in their mind, they're either mother or very successful.
Yeah.
That was like very shocking to me. And there were Dutch ladies that they were telling these things.
So
I
they
was
thought
like,
it was sort of mutually exclusive.
exactly. And when did we shape that actually in them? When did
Yeah.
they think that they have to? Maybe the practical part, the one that I was explaining about my sister, is also not really helping. If you know that,
Hmm?
yeah, that's like, how do you call it? It's going to be logistically very difficult.
Yeah.
That's not going to help. But I think it is different for a woman, because woman needs to go to these pregnancy, post pregnancy, your
Hmm?
body is just on some kind of like tornado almost for a
Hmm?
few months.
Hmm?
And that's the difference. And the first months that the kids come, they are completely dependent on the mother. So those kind of things is that we need to find some practical thing to it, but at the same time teach that it is safe to be pregnant, have children, and then also have a career which is like perhaps complicated, or like me sitting behind a computer and I don't know, coding for 12 hours.
Yeah.
That is not mutually exclusive, as
No.
you're saying.
So, what then? You talked about the parents as let's say the ultimate role models. because
Yes,
those are the people who implant the behaviors and the mind bugs, etc., into your brain.
absolutely.
Um, Maybe also good to talk about male allies then, as
Yes,
in the workplace, because the father and the boyfriend, of course, have a or the husband have a role to play here.
yes.
But I think also the men in the workplace have a role to play in the sense that they can help promote women to be at their best too, right?
Yes, so that's actually where I meant absolutely true. Where I meant that you cannot have like a clear a house or home
Yeah.
with like a half of the dirty half of not, is that I think the education should be for them as well. So the female ally, I think awareness is really important. Not per
Hmm.
se, because I do not think that just like how do you call it, forcing them on anything gonna help, but making aware that what is it to be a young mother, what is it to be a young lady
Hmm.
coming to society. One of the things that I can tell you, I went to this. I'm always like this technical lead of data scientists. I'm going there, and most of the time they have a male as a data like their lead. And I
Uh-huh.
went to this energy sector company,
Yeah.
and the ladies were wearing like very masculine clothing,
Uh-huh.
and that was really strange to me. So I went the way I am. I'm just like very womanly, like in dresses and everything. When I'm working maybe 12 hours like behind my computer, it's just not two things. But I noticed that they said, I was asking why you guys are just like behaving or doing exactly the same as your male colleagues.
Hmm.
And they said, yeah, I want to blend in. For my male manager, was that actually not visible. He didn't know that these small tiny, these subtle things are happening. And then after a very short time, they saw also to wear these all of these dresses, and he says, hey, this is amazing, like this womanly. But for him, of course, he saw the results. It
Yeah.
was really amazing, but he didn't know actually that problem even exists in the first place, isn't
Yeah.
it? So I think that awareness, creating like what is it to be a woman in a workplace,
Hmm.
and feel safe. Derkion, that's like the biggest, like write it in a bold letter. Feel safe in an
Yeah.
environment as a woman. Feeling safe, meaning that just be yourself. Can you be just in your beautiful dress and feel
Mm.
still the power woman that creates value, and not like feel that you will put like as these almost object. Do you understand what I mean?
Hmm.
Will put there. So it's that area. Let's even don't step into that area. But it's really important for male colleagues to understand the psyche of a woman a little bit better.
Yeah. And how can we get that going? Is that a question of having the conversation, or I mean, creating a safe space is something we do together. So there's men
Yeah,
involved, there's
absolutely.
women involved, and we simply have to give each other space
Yes.
to do that.
So by bringing, it does not matter that there are women in the tech or not, but bringing women on board
Hmm.
from all walks of the life and different backgrounds. So my latest, like 2 years ago, I was working with a manager, and she was from anti-money laundering,
Hmm.
amazing lady. And then we had also product owner from she was a lady, and there were a few women, and the whole the way that we treated everything
Hmm.
was from an harmonized and from caring and are you happy
Hmm.
and those kind of stuff. Things happen. A lot of us start to leave, and the number of women like was decreased to, I think, just me trying to survive and just help people.
Hmm.
And then that was like torture. That was a really really horrible situation, in the sense of, I think it's just like by removing that half,
Mm,
for all, the reaction of all of the male colleagues became so different. So by just having the balance of the numbers,
mm-hmm,
even they are not exactly in the tech, but they are just women of the experts in all different fields
mm.
that you bring to the department. I mean, it was day and night, Drekian. The difference was day and night. And after some time, I left because I couldn't. I also couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, but that's also it's also again I couldn't and wouldn't want to blame anybody because it's lack of awareness, isn't it?
Mm,
They just do
yeah.
not know what they cause because they in the first stage. And nobody actually do we have like education or a training? We have all of this very expensive training,
Yeah.
but none of them explains what is actually woman experience
Mm-hmm.
in their head, not in when they are in an environment when there is only this one direction, which is
Yeah.
like a bit like too practical. Do you understand what I mean? Just
Mm,
too much toward just result driven. I'm so super result driven,
mm,
but at the same time, you need also. Uh, uh, I look at you, I look deep in your eyes, and I see that you're unhappy. There is something going on. I will ask you, say, hey, something happens with my family.
mm,
These kind of things are the subtle things, but
yeah.
you need to have room for those kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's where I noticed that when it becomes one directional, like only uh, male and then one type of male. It does not
Mm,
matter what that type is. It
mm,
really doesn't mean if the scene on earth
mm,
is still one type. There is one type of thinking. So it
mm.
becomes so isolated and very unpleasant actually for other people to live in.
Okay. Um, so let's suppose we have AI startup founders listening.
Yes.
Um, what can they do to build a good company and to build good AI?
Really good question. So for area startup founders, addressing like ethical concerns and biases in algorithm is not just a
Mm,
matter of social responsibility, but
mm,
actually is crucial for a long-term success and credibility for their business, isn't it?
yeah.
So what kind of steps they can do? Like having it from the start, embed your ethics from the start. That's
Mm,
really important. So incorporate ethical principle to your company mission.
uh,
If you have it in your mission, then process it, development processing from beginning, because later on it gets really complicated to add.
uh-huh. Yeah,
That's really
plus you,
important.
you build on
Yeah.
top of.
Yes, exactly. And then most of the that's also good, but this is like way easier. Anything in the foundation,
Yeah.
then you already say, I commit to fairness, to
Mm,
transparency, to accountability. You say that you have the commitment, and then you build also this time for yourself to spend on it.
mm.
Because uh, if it's something needs to go to production, everybody's running, everybody's stressed. Do you think they would think about fairness and transparency and
No,
accountability? No
they
way.
just want to get the stuff on there
Yeah, exactly.
published.
But when it's a part of your system, you're forcing yourself in. So if you have a legal officer, you have a data governance person, they just like kind of standing on your shoulder. Have you done all of these like checklists? Yeah, okay, not. And that's really important to just add. Actually, the diversity, that's the amazing thing that you're mentioning. I have really respect for the work that you're doing, Derek, with this podcast, and actually encouraging people to do that. And it does not matter where you do it. For AI startup, it's exactly the same. So build diverse teams.
Mm,
Will add that to just automatically. So do things that automatically brings your result instead of being too late and then just figuring out. Because when you're at the edge of things, you wouldn't do it. You just would go with the flow. Actually,
yeah.
then review process. You have to have an ethical review process. And what, for example, we did in our latest the company I was working on, anti-money laundering, we asked four professors which are
Mm,
like independent, because we could get like tunnel vision, isn't it? Like
mm,
we are great and what you're doing. We were asking them, and whatever we did, we just put it in front of their eyes and say, hey, you're independent people. Can you tell us, review this for us, and tell if we are actually on a good course? And that
Mm.
was like one of the amazing things. This costs time, this costs money, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's where yeah, like, do you want to be this person that wants to create trust? But why would you do it,
Mm.
because if somebody loses the trust in your company,
Yeah.
then you're done, then you don't have a business. And because of, so it's if you're not per se the most principal person on earth, it still is important for your business to do it, because if you lose the trust, you lose your business.
Is it also in part, the AI is, I think, at the crossroads of really breaking through?
Yes.
Uh, is this also, let's say, the make or break moment for AI when as a technology, as a business model, when it comes to trust?
Um, you mean, you mean that to just create that,
Yeah.
can AI add value to that? Do you
No,
mean
no,
that?
no. It's
No.
more like is the for technology to work, it's
Yes.
important that people trust the technology and
Yeah.
trust the foundations of the
Yeah.
technology. So
Yes.
if we say it's fair, it's equitable, etc.,
Yeah.
it has to deliver on that promise and it has to do that, well, sort of consistently.
Exactly. So for AI, because AI can be a black box, it is a black box.
Uh-huh.
If you don't create that trust, we call it response. The whole package called responsible AI. So
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, have a responsible AI complete package in your company.
Mm-hmm.
But what's one of the thing is that is AI explainability. If I don't explain it right to you, that black box I'm creating,
Mm-hmm.
at some point it will break your trust. But also, if I say what I cannot do,
Mm-hmm.
then you will trust me. You don't, because you see the transparency. So it's not about being complete, it's about having the best intention.
Yeah.
If you create that, I think I will just like having the keywords best intention
Mm-hmm.
inside your thing. It does not matter, because if you're a startup and you just have three people, you cannot do all of these stuff that all of the big companies are doing.
Mm-hmm.
But do it with the best intention. Say we have improved 10% of that, and
Yeah.
everybody say, okay, we know you're on a good way. That's actually will be my answer to your question.
Okay. Uh, Today is a great day for you, I think, because you're launching your AI, your own AI training.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm launching my own AI training, which called AI Solutions Mastery,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a kind of roadmap for data scientists to do their work as good as possible.
Yeah.
And what it does is actually it transform a data scientist to a really problem solving data scientist in,
Mm-hmm.
in 4 weeks. And it's just creating actually data scientists which are way more conscious of what is actually the purpose of data scientists,
Mm-hmm.
which is going and doing adding value to business.
Mm-hmm. So it's not, maybe also good to say it's not a data scientist course or training. It's about how do you use those skills for a good, in the right way for your business.
So it's actually it is like kind of the type of training that will like challenge, inspire, empower you.
Mm-hmm.
I use the roadmap. I use all of the technical stuff. But I give them also a way to not get lost in the technical part. I
Mm-hmm.
have coached about 200 data scientists during my work.
Mm-hmm.
What I noticed that just this one thing happening over and over again is that data scientists really get lost in their love for technical stuff,
Uh-huh.
which I do as well. I
Mm-hmm.
love what I do, I'm passionate. But if I go and build something
Mm-hmm.
uh, which is not valuable or not relevant to you,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm working on it 6 months, and you're just completely dazzled with all of these very difficult technical terms that I'm using the whole process, you don't get what I'm doing, and at the end you're thinking, it looks very shiny, but I cannot use it because I have no idea where does it go. I
Yeah.
don't know the trust and everything. So many resources are spent on AI solutions that are ending up on the shelf, and in this case on a folder in a cloud,
Yeah.
and that's actually how I always coached my data scientists to just become a real data scientist and
Mm-hmm.
not a technical developer. So now I kind of made that to a roadmap where I just kind of handhold them as well,
Mm-hmm.
and try to change their DNA,
Mm-hmm.
from being only a technical person to a technical person that can add value and just remove all of the noise and distraction, because they can get distracted with all
Mm-hmm.
of this very beautiful stuff happening in our field, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, but then what's the focus? If I need a large language model for my process, that's perfect. But if not, if I can do it with machine learning and other methods, just focus on what is necessary instead of what is actually shiny. That's
Yeah.
a little bit the summary of the roadmap.
Okay. So not building a Rolls Royce if you can do with a Volkswagen.
Absolutely, that's a very good analogy.
Okay. Um, I want to move a bit towards the end of our recording of our
Yes,
podcast. I really enjoyed the conversation so far. I have 3 questions left.
yes,
You described you're an Iranian woman.
yes.
You're living in the Netherlands. You have a PhD in AI, which in I, Iran is, well, sort of, let's say, 50-50 male female, and in Holland it's more male dominated. How do you look at the underrepresentation of women in tech in general in the Netherlands specifically?
So the way I look at it is that if that means that all of those women really are happy
Mm,
and really are loving what they do, I would say, who cares?
yeah.
But the first thing is because it's just like it could be the interest. The interest of the world is not everybody's interested in learning Japanese there. Let's say
Yeah.
it's just not. It's not something which is we need to force. In my opinion,
Mm,
what we need to figure out is, are the women happy with what they are, or
mm,
do they actually do the things because it's practical?
yeah.
So my advice would be to every woman at everywhere they are is to just figure out what is it that you really want to do,
Mm,
and don't think that there are so many obstacles. The obstacles you can always remove them
yeah.
and ask people to remove them. But if you already give up with the thinking that there is there is no chance that I
Mm,
can do that, then there is also no, the world will already also give up on you because
yeah.
you haven't even asked what you wanted. Is it easy where I am? No, it hasn't not be easy. I have to separate it from my parents, the people I love the most. I had to be in another country, to just be alone. All of these things. Is it easy? No. Um, but if you follow what you really like and it's really important to you, then the doors get open for you. The
Yeah.
doors get open for you that you have never seen before, and that's actually something that I really want for women to figure out for themselves, that they can have this beautiful life with their children and be the head of biggest company in the Netherlands. That's not mutually exclusive, as you're putting it very beautifully.
Sounds like a great place to wrap.
Yes, absolutely.
I have this arrangement with Jacqueline van den Ende
Yes.
uh, to make this podcast irrelevant by 2032, by the end of
Yes.
2032. Uh, what would be your expert advice? How can AI play a role, for instance, in making that happen?
So by having AI, we're making a lot of things possible
Hmm?
and approachable, but also we can speed up the process of the things. One of the things is that, for example, in Amazon they have not hired enough women because there was not enough women in the the history of data,
Hmm?
those kind of stuff. So you to kind of we noticed for the first time, because of the stronger model in AI,
Hmm?
how much of gaps we have. So because AI needs good data and good actually this completion, AI itself just shows how much we can improve on the things. But also things like, if women are so interested but they are financially are not strong enough,
Hmm?
the mini credits and the things that you can bring to the board. So it's just like making actually what visible from all over the world, all of the places,
Hmm?
what is actually possible for the woman, and looking at what is right now. I'm seeing already what's happening is that we see with the data labelers that are for ChatGPT,
Hmm?
we already seeing all of these the differences very fast starting to appear in the, so not in the speed of 10 years, but the speed of a few months.
Hmm?
Why?
Yeah.
It's necessary to train the AI.
Yeah.
And that's where I think so. For I would say for that 10 years, I have so much respect for these ambitious like 10 years, but we need to drastically change things
Hmm?
with just have other mentality, removing all of these mindset things from the woman, but also when women have all of these things removed, but they
Hmm?
still are geographically in a place where they cannot do, or financially is not,
Hmm?
it's just that makes AI, like AI makes it very very fast visible for us, which makes also this almost community way of solving the problem.
Hmm?
And I would say that's not possible to do that. That, that for only one or two nations, Turkey.
Hmm?
I would say it should be internationally. It should be hands in hands. Then we can actually do that. One of the things that ChatGPT has, for example, is it's an international something, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
about all of the languages, and that's why the doors are open. So geographically, we need also remove the borders to just see that effect coming. Because if I solve only the problems of people in Europe or Middle East or Australia only,
Hmm?
that will still keep a lot of things, and people will shift again, and they will
Yeah.
again come back to the same problem.
Thank you.
Of course.
Uh, Thank you also for the conversation and for the inspiration. Last question. Where can listeners learn more about you, about profound analytics, and about the training you're launching today?
Thanks a lot. So for me, if they go to maryammiradi.com, so my name, first name and last name, and or profoundanalytics.com or LinkedIn, they can find me. They can just Google me. I think
Mhm.
if they Google my name, they immediately get all of the links. And my training is on maryammiradi.com, and that's where they can find it.
Okay. Thanks very much. We'll include those links in the show notes. And thank you very much for this wonderful conversation, Mariam. And listeners, thank you very much for listening and hope to see you in the next episode. Well, that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you for listening to episode 46 of Women Disrupting Tech about artificial intelligence with Maryam Miradi. Maryam and I hope that you've enjoyed our conversation as much as we did, and we want to say thank you to Elena Zabel for connecting us. If you want to learn more about Mariam, you can connect with her via the links in the show notes. And there you can also find a link to the website of her company, Profound Analytics, and of course, a link to the training that she is launching today. As usual, you can find the show notes at womendisruptingtech.blog. There you can also become a member of the Women Disrupting Tech community. And if you're a member, you get exclusive access to Women Disrupting Tech events, and you're the first to learn when new episodes and blogs come online. For a weekly dose of Women Disrupting Tech inspiration, you can also follow the podcast on Apple, Spotify, and Good Pods. And if you're a regular listener to the podcast, would you please give the show a rating or a review? Because that way you help other people discover the podcast. Now, if you want to help Mariam and other women in tech make this podcast obsolete by the end of 2032, there's a simple thing you can do. Please share the podcast with friends, family, and coworkers, because this way you give Mariam and my other guests the platform they need to make this podcast obsolete. Finally, if you want to connect with me, please reach out via email dirkjan at womendisruptingtech.blog, or send me a DM or connection request at LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, just look up my name and you'll find me. With that, I wish you a wonderful day. I hope to see you in the next episode, and in the meantime, keep being awesome.